see. And we've got an action-packed event for you in store to be the Speedway division up tonight, right, Frank?
It sure is, and I tell you, Dean, a fine field of automobiles lining up. They're lined up according to point standings as the 24-car field pulls out onto the Speedway. The current point leaders are at the tail of the 24-car field as they move out of turn number 4 and down through the intersection, beginning their parade lap here tonight. And Dan Moody out of Portland, Kentucky will be starting up on the front row along with longtime veteran Tom Winters as they move into turns 1 and 2. Less than a lap or so to go before the green flag comes out.
And a tight points race it is indeed for the points lead here in the figure 8 division. Tony Conway with 52 points. Calvin Green and Danny Blackwell back with 50 points each, or just 2 points behind. And then, of course, you find Roger Bennington and Chuck Barnes with 40 points each in the division.
Okay, and the field rolls out of turn number 2 and down through the intersection, set to take the green flag, driving Dan Moody up on the front row along with Tom Winters. And tonight in the press box, we have late model driver Joe Williamson joining us here tonight, color commentating here at the Speedway. It's Richard Butterball Bloyd on row number 2, along with the number 30 of Mike Whittle in the lineup. And Joe, it looks like a fine field of cars here this evening.
It looks like a real good field of cars. I'll tell you, last year at the end of the year when Winters run so good, he really impressed me. They're off.
Okay, and the green flag is out, and they're off into turns 1 and 2. And it's the number X88 of Tom Winters who takes the upper hand over driving Dan Moody. And the number 63, Richard Bloyd, currently goes at 3rd on the field. Mike Whittle at 4th, and rounding out the top 5, it's Jim Berry in the X51. Barry did so well in well, not so well, but he was in the thick of things in the middle of the intersection last week here at the Speedway as they get down to single file formation down through the intersection. And Keith Whalen along with the X13 tangle going through the intersection as they come around to complete lap number 1. That was Doug Miller. Tom Winters out front, the number 63 of Dan Moody runs at 2nd place. And Joe Williamson, do you want to lead a race early in a 25-lap contest?
As long as you're in a lead pack, if you get strung out by yourself, that's when they seem to get in trouble. As long as you're with 2 or 3 cars, you're okay. You single out, it's trouble because they won't give you a hole.
Joe, is it a situation in figure 8 racing where it's an advantage to handle good or have a lot of horsepower?
Handling through the middle of the turns is the biggest thing. That's just absolutely troublesome.
Okay, and Jim Berry's up against the outside retaining wall up in turn number 3, just in front of the VIP suite, where it's filled with our fine friends from Club Caddies here tonight. Dean Taylor.
Right, you are. This Club Caddies night here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Our friends from Club Caddies out here. The yellow flag is going to come out with 4 laps down in this event. We'll be car up there outside of turn number 3. Currently, with 4 laps down, your leader is the number X88 Tom Winters. Running 2nd, we find the number 63 machine, Dan Moody. And running 3rd currently is the number 48 car. That belongs to, I don't have the name on that, Frank. Do you have the name on 48?
Okay, and the number 48 of Richard Bloyd also in the lineup as well. Caution after 5 laps of competition. The reason is back at Louisville Motor Speedway, WTMT 62 Country, and the live call of the feature event brought to you by Collins Chevrolet Geo, located on Broadway, downtown Louisville. Set to go back racing after only 4 laps of competition. Joe Williamson, you've been looking at some of the drivers already progressing after 4 laps of competition in the field. Who's moving up so early?
Seems like Raymond Johnson's made up 3 or 4 spots already. He's up there next to Buddy Bertries now.
Tom Winters brings them back under green flag racing conditions, the X88. And the auto body panel special out front. The X88 of Tom Winters. Running at 2nd, it's Dan Moody, Richard Bloyd for 3rd, Jeff Roberts at 4th, and Pat Pierce rounds out the top 5 as they swing into turns 3 and 4, Dean Taylor.
A lot of heavy traffic there in the middle. Buddy Bertries and Raymond Johnson desperately trying to find an opening so they can move towards the front of the field. They have 5 laps down. Of course, your leader is still that number X88 machine from Mr. Tom Winters. He is out in front, got about a car length lead over his closest competitor, which is the number 63 of Dan Moody. As they move down into turn number 3, Frank. right.
Good side-by-side battle back at 4th place. The number 86 of Jeff Roberts racing along the inside of Pat Pierce as they scream off turn number 4. They're back down through the intersection and attempting to get around Richard Bloyd as they move into turns 1 and 2. They nearly went 3 abreast and actually giving up some real estate to the top 2 cars, that of Tom Winters, who runs out front, and Dan Moody, who runs at 2nd. Now Pat Pierce brings his car up to 3rd place. Richard Butterball Bloyd currently goes at 4th, and then rounding out the top 5, it's Jeff Roberts. Going 6th on the field is the number 6 car of Danny Skaggs, and then it's Bobby Johnson, and then the number 30 of Mike Whittle, then Raymond Johnson, and then Calvin Crane. So that's the way the top 10 look, as Jeff Roberts, who was posted inside the top 5, slid off onto the grass. Then Keith Whalen careened into the side of one car parked at the intersection, that of Harold Murphy, and now we see the number 41 of Buddy Vertrees. His hand extends out the window, and it looks like he's had...
Pat Pierce, the number 2 car, he's spinning outside there in turn number 1. He was moving on the leader, Tom Winters there, but could not get the handle on it and loses it outside of the turn there.
Tom Winters of Shively, Kentucky remains out front. The number 63 of Dan Moody now comes up to 2nd place on the field. Richard Bloyd currently goes at 3rd. Bobby Johnson at 4th, and then Raymond Johnson in there as well. Danny Skaggs now shown up at the number 3 position as they click off lap number 9. So already, Joe Williamson, a contrast to the type of racing that you're used to in the Winston Busch late models.
This is a different type of species of a human being out there driving now. They ain't nothing compared to them in a late model driver or a regular oval driver. That's a different kind of people there.
A totally different breed altogether as they attempt to go 4 wide into turns 1 and 2. Your leader remains Tom Winters in his Auto Body Panels Racing Chevrolet. He now has about a 10-car length separation over the rest of the field. A good 3-car battle, and they're 3 abreast over in turn number 4. Bobby Johnson, as well as the number 63 of Dan Moody and the number 6 of Danny Skaggs and Raymond Johnson. Those 4 cars all battling for the number 2 spot. And I tell you what, Dean Taylor, they're not afraid to go racing 3 abreast around this Louisville Motor Speedway.
Not at all. Raymond Johnson and Bobby Johnson have really poured it on here in the last few moments to move up there into the top 5 field. Number X6 machine of Danny Skaggs, he's doing the best that he can to hold off that number 2nd position. But Bobby Johnson is breathing down his tailpipe right at the moment. Raymond Johnson currently running 4th in the event. Tom Winters still out in front of that number X88 machine as they go through the intersection.
At the halfway point of this event, it's Tom Winters and about 10 car lengths. And Joe Williamson, you've got a comment.
The 59, Pierce was almost actually took the lead and got sort of spun and went way back. He's already back up in the top 10.
So Pat Pierce may have one of the fastest cars onto the field as he was battling for the lead at one point in this contest, got drop kicked back near the tail, and now has fought his way halfway up through this lineup. Let's set the field for you now, just over the halfway point. It's Tom Winters of Shively, Kentucky in his Auto Body Panels Racing Chevrolet, and about 6 car lengths out front. Bobby Johnson in his Etherton's Racing Special, the number 00, currently runs at 2nd. His younger brother, Raymond, currently goes at 3rd out of turn 2 as they move down through the intersection. The X6 of Danny Skaggs posted in the number 4 spot, and last week's feature event winner, Calvin Crane, rounds out the top 5. Dean Taylor.
Right, you are. That's how the top 5 unfold here currently on the Colin Chevy Geo radio feature. Don't forget, each week we'll come to you with a different radio feature. This upcoming Monday night, it's the Midget Challenge, the Derby Festival Renegades Midget Challenge. Our next radio feature coming to you here on WTMT. Bobby Johnson now moving to the outside of your leader, Tom Winters, as they go into turn number 3. Tom's still holding on to the gun, but he's got the brothers Johnson on his tail, hard and heavy, as they meet some traffic going through the intersection.
They click off lap number 16, and it's Tom Winters and the Johnsons racing together as they move over to turn number 2 and down through the intersection. It looks like Raymond looks to the inside of Winters. Winters remains out front as they move into turns 3 and 4.
You've got Bobby on the outside, Raymond on the inside. It's sort of like being between a rock and a hard place, so to speak.
Well, it's like being between a rock and a Johnson. Trouble out of turn 4 for 2 cars, and it's Danny Skaggs as well as driving Dan Moody in the number 63 who tangle. lap after lap, Tom Winters is able to turn back both those Johnson drivers. Both Raymond and Bobby can't find their way around Tom Winters, and I tell you what, that only comes with experience. Now it looks like Raymond pulls up along the inside of Tom Winters as they come out in turn number 4, and Raymond Johnson is the new leader. But the whole while, Calvin Crane has reeled those leaders in. Winters has made contact and spun in the first turn area. He made contact with Raymond Johnson, and Winters now drops about halfway back through the lineup. Dean?
So with 18 laps down, Raymond Johnson is now your new leader. Bobby Johnson is running second. We've got Calvin Crane holding down third. And looks like fourth at the moment might be Pat Pierce, possibly.
Okay, one car spinning. It's Richard Bloyd over in turn number 3. He gets back into the lineup. Calvin Crane, last week's feature event winner, has now come up to second place on the field. And those cars are, the leaders are meeting the number X12 of Timmy Blackwell at the intersection. And Timmy Blackwell's one of those drivers that's not afraid to just go on through that intersection. He won't stop for you hardly. 20 laps now complete. We're 5 away from the finish, and a showdown for the lead is about to unfurl before us here as the number 0 of Raymond Johnson continues to lead. Calvin Crane running at second. Bobby Johnson goes third, and the number 1 of John Basham out of Germantown, Kentucky, posted in the number 4 spot. Pat Pierce has fought his way all the way from the tail of this lineup to run inside the top 5. And Joe Williamson, it's very, very exciting out there tonight.
Very exciting. Calvin Crane's done a real good job, starting on the tail and coming all the way up through, missing all the wrecks. But Bobby and Raymond has also done a good job.
So a lot of drivers doing some great tactical work out there in the heavy traffic that you normally encounter during stock car racing, but then that very, very busy intersection. Raymond Johnson cuts the X, and Raymond is collected by Tom Winters, and it looks like Raymond spins around in the first turn area of the racetrack, and it looks like we might get a new leader as they work out of turn 2 and down through the intersection. Calvin Crane and Bobby Johnson now battling side by side, moving into turns 3 and 4. It looks as though we may get a caution flag. Let's see, 22 laps have been completed. 25 laps will make up the distance, and it looks like we will get a caution flag, perhaps a red flag. Joe, can you tell us what happened there?
It looked like it might have been just a coincidence, but seemed like Winters, who got spun leading the race by Raymond Johnson, just happened to hit Raymond in the X, but it could have been an accident.
Okay, so 2 cars that raced a little bit earlier this evening in the feature event collide at the intersection. 22 laps are away in tonight's feature event. The Bob Hook rescue vehicles now coming out onto the officials line you back up, and they had already lined up Calvin's position, so he was instructed to go back to the tail of the lineup. The green flag's back out here at Louisville Motor Speedway, the track of the 90s. And Bobby Johnson and John Basham are battling for the lead. Bobby Johnson's not going to do too well up on those speed bumps, and now he's just lost about 3 or 4 car lengths to Germantown, Kentucky's John Basham in the X1, the 2-time winner of the Mid-South 100 here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Bobby Johnson rides at second on the field. Chuck Barnes, although it's not, he is 1 lap down to the field, but the third car on the lineup, the 86 of Jeff Roberts, now posted in the number 3 position, and Tony Conway, the current point leader in this division, rides at 4th. Rounding out the top 5 is the number 59 of Pat Pierce, and some scrambling going on around the 6th, 7th, and 8th spot. There you see the Bucks Gags along with the 42 of Tony Anderson, and the X77 of Danny Blackwell. But the white flag is out. Less than 1 lap to go, and it's going to be a shootout between 2 cars as they move into turns 3 and 4 for the final time. It's John Basham and Bobby Johnson. Bumper to bumper over in turn 4. A busy intersection, a crash at the intersection. John Basham threads through the melee there at the intersection to collect the checkered flag, and he's our 3rd different feature event winner of the 1991 racing season here at Louisville Motor Speedway. Bobby Johnson across the line at 2nd. Jeff Roberts for 3rd. Tony Conway hits the line at 4th, and Pat Pierce rounding out the top 5. Dean Taylor?
Yeah, exciting race indeed. Looks like we might have some post-race activities going on down here on the track as the crowd rises to their feet. And there you have it, the running of the feature event, the Auto Works Figure 8 radio feature, being brought to you by Collins Chevy Geo. We'll be back to recap things and have a final word or two with Joe Williamson when we continue with the radio feature live here on WTMT.